Dr. Manasa, kindly go ahead.
Yeah. So, good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Mansa, consultant endocrinologist in Bangalore. So, today we're discussing about the obesity and obesity management with the generic medications. So, obesity is now recognized as a chronic relapsing disease, we all know, and it affects millions in the worldwide. And with the newer anti-obesity medications, especially the GLP-1 agonist, have transformed the therapeutic landscape of the obesity management. So, as nowadays the patent of these medications has expired, so the emergence of generic anti-obesity medication has given an opportunity to increase the treatment accessibility so that it is accessible to people and it is affordable to people. But it also raises an important question: what is the quality of these generic medications? How bioequivalent they are, how efficacious they are, and what is the safety profile of these medications? So, knowing all this will give us a confidence to start these medications and make it available to the need. So, to talk about this, we have an excellent panel of experts all over the country who helps in navigating this evolving situation at present. So, we have we have Dr. Bhavani Shankardal, consultant endocrinologist at Cuttack, Odisha. We have Dr. Navya, who is a consultant endocrinologist at Kochi, Kerala. And we have Dr. Ronak Gandhi, consultant endocrinologist and assistant professor at Jodhpur, Rajasthan. And we have Dr. Sujan, who is consultant endocrinologist practicing at Shimoga. So, without any ado, we'll start our today's session. The first round will be on science and regulatory perspective. So, before we embrace this newer generic molecule in the management of obesity, we should understand the science and how the regulatory framework happens before the approval of these generic medications. So, my first question is to Dr. Bhavani Shankardal. Mostly we have this confusion of whether these medication is truly comparable to these innovative products and what evidence should convince us to use these generic medications. Over to you, Dr. Bhavani Shankardal.
Thank you, ma'am, for the question. The clinicians actually should gather evidences at least in 4 domains. The first one is the bioequivalence. The generic molecule should have the same pharmacokinetic profile, and the doses formulation should be the same, and the route of administration should be the same, and it should have the same active molecule as of the innovator drug. And the second point is the manufacturing standard of this generic molecules. The companies who are producing these molecules, they should follow a proper manufacturing standard that should be comparable with the generic innovator molecule, and starting from the cold chain to maintaining this quality control. And third one is the clinical evidence. Clinical evidence in terms of the safety and efficacy of the molecule. In the clinician should compare the safety and efficacy of these molecules in clinical trials, head-to-head trials, comparing these generic drugs with the innovator molecule. And fourth one is there should be a proper board. Drug approval board should they should allow the approval of this drug, like DCGI in India. So all these factors come into the play while choosing this drug, not only the cost factor.
Thank you so much, Doctor. So, what the main important message from this is, see, these anti-obesity medications, when we are starting these generics, the most important that what we require is a real world data. So, it will give a lot of confidence to us when we start if we have a good amount of real world data. Thank you so much for that. So, my second question is to Dr. Navya. So we have a lot of conventional small molecule generics. There are a lot of medications available which are small molecule generics. How different are they? How these generic GLP-1 analogs, how different are they from these small molecule generic drugs? And do we have any additional challenges in making these generic GLP-1 analogs?
So, this generic GLP-1 agonists are fundamentally different from traditional small molecule generics like metformin, the painkillers, and all. And this distinction actually revolves around their complex molecular structure, manufacturing, and complex delivery mechanisms. So, when we tell about the molecular structure, this GLP-1 receptor analog generics are actually very complex, and they are very large molecules, and it's very difficult to replicate that molecule. Whereas the other small generics are very low molecular weight, simple chemical compounds, and that can be manufactured with the help of a simple chemical reaction. And the manufacturing and exact replica of a GLP-1 receptor analog is very difficult, highly complex. They are complex peptides, and they are synthesized via solid phase peptide reactions, which can take some weeks and all. So mass production will be very difficult. So what will be available in market will be actually compounded products. That is, they may not be actual replicas, that may be the recipe of the concerned pharmacological company. So we must be aware of this fact, and only price should not guide the prescription. And the other thing is the delivery mechanisms. Because most of these drugs are injectables, and the delivery mechanism should be very precise and perfect. So along with the drug, the manufacturer has to manufacture the perfect delivery device also with precision. So such products are called combination products, and both these actually require approval. So on all these factors, considering all these factors, we can say that this generic GLP-1 analogs are fundamentally different from small molecular generics, which are easily created using a chemical reaction within a very short span of time by any chemical company.
Thank you so much, Dr. Navya. So they're definitely not as same as these other small generics we have. So they're more complex. So my next question is to Dr. Ronak Gandhi, sir. Sir, can bioequivalence alone guarantee the comparable efficacy, or do we need any other additional evidence? It's not only just bioequivalence. Do we need anything else, sir?
Thank you, Dr. Mansa, for the question. We are already discussing the generics. So, and Dr. Navya has already elucidated the thing, generics are different from the original or the innovator molecule, whatever it is being synthesized. तो जो भी द मॉलिक्यूल वॉज या जो भी दवाई थी जो पहले सबसे पहले बनी और उसके बाद उसका यूज हुआ, उससे कंपैरिजन जब हम कर रहे हैं तो वी आर कंपेयरिंग हियर कि भाई ये एक डिफरेंट सबसेट ऑफ मॉलिक्यूल या डिफरेंट सबसेट ऑफ दवाई है जो उसके जैसी है बट वैसी नहीं हो सकती इन ऑल एस्पेक्ट्स, देन इट इज कॉल्ड एज जेनेरिक्स इन अ सिंपल लैंग्वेज फॉर अदर पीपल और पब्लिक टू नो कि एक एक्स मॉलिक्यूल था जो कि इनिशियली बना एंड देन उसकी एक कॉपी काइंड ऑफ मॉलिक्यूल उसके जैसा का जैसा एक मॉलिक्यूल सिंथेसाइज करने की बनाने की कोशिश की गई तो वो एक वाई मॉलिक्यूल बना एंड इफ इट इज एक्टिंग एग्जैक्टली लाइक दिस, उसके अंदर एक्टिव इंग्रेडिएंट वही हो, उसकी क्लिनिकल एफिकेसी वही हो, वो वही इफेक्ट प्रोड्यूस करे जो हम लोग पहले इनिशियल मॉलिक्यूल में देख रहे थे, देन इट इज कंसिडर्ड एज अ जेनेरिक. अदरवाइज जो नव्या डॉक्टर नव्या ने कहा कि जो स्मॉल मॉलिक्यूल्स हैं उनके जेनेरिक्स बनाना बहुत सिंपल है रादर देन दीज काइंड ऑफ मॉलिक्यूल या ऐसे मॉलिक्यूल जो कि कॉम्प्लेक्स पेप्टाइड्स हैं, क्योंकि इनके सिंथेसिस में कई सारे स्टेप्स इन्वॉल्व हैं, डिलीवरी मैकेनिज्म्स या इंजेक्शंस थेरेपीज वो सब इन्वॉल्व है, तो दे आर अ बिट डिफरेंट. एंड यू हैव ऑलरेडी रेज्ड दिस क्वेश्चन कि हम इनकी फार्मेको इक्विवेलेंस से इनको बराबर मान सकते हैं क्या? व्हेनेवर यू आर रेजिंग अ क्वेश्चन दैट मींस यू हैव अ डाउट. सो वी शुड अंडरस्टैंड दिस. हमें समझना होगा यहाँ पर कि जो भी मॉलिक्यूल जनरेट किया गया है दैट इज नॉट अ सिंपल बायो इक्विवेलेंस, कैन नॉट जस्टिफाई द यूज ऑफ दीज मॉलिक्यूल्स. हम जब स्मॉल जेनेरिक मॉलिक्यूल्स की बात करते हैं, फॉर एन एग्जांपल पैरासिटामोल की बात करें तो पैरासिटामोल आपको 50 ब्रांड्स में मिलेंगे. तो जो भी इनोवेटर मॉलिक्यूल था जिसने पैरासिटामोल बनाया था वहां से बाद में जब शिफ्ट हुए तो वो सिर्फ एक केमिकल कंपाउंड था. पैरासिटामोल इज जस्ट अ केमिकल कंपाउंड. तो उसको शिफ्ट करना इजी था, रेप्लिकेट करना इजी था, बनिस्पत इसके या बजाय इसके कि जब हम पेप्टाइड्स को कर रहे हैं, बिकॉज हम यहाँ पर बात कर रहे हैं GLP-1 एनालॉग्स की, दैट इज अ वेरी डिफरेंट ball game altogether. When we are talking about GLP-1, these are complex peptide involving multiple steps in synthesis, एंड जो इनिशियल इनोवेटर मॉलिक्यूल सिंथेसाइज हुआ था वो कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी में जाऊं तो आरडीएनए टेक्नोलॉजी से सिंथेसाइज हुआ, लिविंग ऑर्गेनिजम्स में सिंथेसाइज हुआ। उसके बाद जो अब ये जेनेरिक्स बने हैं, कॉपीज बने हैं, दे आर बीइंग सिंथेसाइज्ड ऑन अनदर प्लेटफॉर्म, सॉलिड फेज प्लेटफॉर्म पे सिंथेसाइज हो रहे हैं। तो फंडामेंटली दे आर डिफरेंट। सो हमें ये देखना पड़ेगा आगे चल के कि इनके यूज के साथ में हमें क्लिनिकल एफिकेसी, यूटिलाइजेशन, HbA1c, बॉडी वेट, ये सारी चीजें अगर उनके सिमिलर अमाउंट्स में मिलती हैं, देन ओनली वी विल बी एबल टू टेल कि नहीं ये इक्वली पोटेंट हैं, इक्वली सेफ हैं। इफ इसमें कहीं गड़बड़ आती है, रियल वर्ल्ड एविडेंस के बिना ये चीजें कहना मुश्किल होगा। तो जब तक ये चीजें एक्सपीरियंस नहीं हो जाती तब तक हम कुछ भी एग्जैक्टली कमेंट नहीं कर सकते। एक्टिव इंग्रेडिएंट दोनों का सेम है, मेथड ऑफ प्रोडक्शन डिफरेंट है, एक्टिव इंग्रेडिएंट सेम है, बट स्टिल देयर आर सर्टेन क्वेश्चंस व्हिच आर अनआंसर्ड। उन्हें हमको देखना पड़ेगा रियल वर्ल्ड एविडेंस के साथ, यूजेज के साथ में, कि दे आर एक्टिंग सेम, they are giving the same clinical efficacy, they are having the same or the reduced side effects, immunogenicity। अगर ये सब चीजें नहीं होती हैं या कम होती हैं तो we can say कि इनकी clinical efficacy same है और safety same है। Otherwise they are a bit of different molecules and they should be used with vigilance and proper care under the use of endocrinologist or an internal medicine specialist.
Great, sir. Thank you so much, sir. So the next question is to Dr. Sujan. So like we discussed, so these generic molecules, when we prepare it compared to the innovator molecule, when it has to come to the routine clinical practice, what all regulatory standards, what all measures has to be taken before it is put into the clinical practice? What all measures has to be taken?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Manasa, for inviting me. And the most important are the regulatory standards here. So we know most of the generics, we already know that they all are DGCI and CITSCO approved. But this has to continue. It's not that once they are given approval and it's it's over. Because these are newer generic molecules now. These are new and we don't have much experience. This standardization, this regular standardization should continue over a long period of time. Only then we'll be able to tell. So this evaluation of pharmaceutical quality, therapeutic equivalence, and manufacturing standards all should be regulated by these organizations. Second thing is that the batch-to-batch consistency also is very important, and impurity profiling. Because some of these molecules now, generics, what we have is we get as 15 mg or 2 mg, 4 mg. This is not something with the original molecule. They were of a different dosing, and these newer generics are of a different dosing. We don't know what are the batch-to-batch consistency should be maintained. And one more is cold chain validation. So 15 mg molecule, keeping it for a longer period of time, we don't know. They say that a particular half-life is good enough. But again, only time will tell us whether this cold chain validation is it done properly. Now, even if we follow it properly, what is the impurity profiling and what is the efficacy of that molecule? Only time will tell us. And the third thing is pharmacovigilance program from Government of India. So they have to keep a very strict, I feel, directory. They have to keep a very strict directory regarding the adverse events. Comparing with all these generic molecules with the brands, what are the unique adverse events they have, the percentage of adverse events, is it different than the original molecules? So only if you have a directory of all this side effects and the percentage of weight loss, only then we will be able to do it. So all these things, whatever I have said, should be done by this standard DGCI or CITSCO. And the third thing is regarding the injectable pens, the quality assurance, usability, and reliability, again, it should be met. So these are 3 to 4 points which this organization should keep in point, and regularly. It's not that one time they'll give approval and they'll forget about it. No, they have to keep checking it regularly, every 6 months, 1 yearly, and the multiple centers should be made, and where the data is collected properly. Only then, on a long term, we'll be able to tell, are we getting benefited with generics, or is it just just a cheaper molecule, packed in a very fancy bag, which will be using it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sujan. So at the end of this round, what we have realized is definitely these generic molecule will provide us a greater accessibility and affordability. But what we have to make sure that the manufacturing standards are maintained, the regulatory authorities are always overlooking the process, And also, we need good clinical evidence in terms of real world data. So thank you so much. Let's move on to the second round. That's about the clinical practice. So what are the problems, or what are the realities that happens in day-to-day practices that we see on a regular basis. So my first question is to Dr. Bhavani Shankar again. So now that these generic molecules have granted these approval, how comfortable should we be in prescribing generic anti-obesity medications immediately? These generic molecules, though we have good amount of confidence on innovator molecules, how confident are we in prescribing these generic molecules?
Thank you, ma'am, for the question. I think we should be comfortable because we have clinical trials which already demonstrated the bioequivalence of this molecule, and they have already demonstrated the non-inferiority of this molecule in comparison to the innovator drug in terms of safety and clinical efficacy. So I think we should start as early as possible. Because as we already know that obesity is a chronic relapsing disease, and earlier we start the treatment in the patient, they will get the maximum benefit. And simultaneously, we should be cautious about the any unexpected side effect in the early post-market surveillance, and that should be noted and should be managed accordingly. That is the most important message here, I think.
Great, Dr. Bhavani Shankar. So the second question is to Dr. Navya. So we know that the obesity is chronic, relapsing, remitting disease. So how these lower cost generics, how does it improve the adherence and persistence? So does it help in maintaining these adherence to the medication, persistence of these medication? Does it really affect?
So the thing is, initially when this molecule came out, the 90% of discontinuation was due to cost. But now it is very cheap. It's actually cheaper than a monthly gym membership. Still, the boom which was seen in Western countries is not there in India. Because the thing is, the cheapness actually improves access and reduces inequity, but it doesn't transform into adherence. The problem is with the Indian culture only, because for us, medicine is the last resort. The thinking process is like, when we can reduce the weight naturally, why should we go for medicine? So that is the main issue. Actually, most of the patients at metabolically high risk doesn't perceive themselves as high risk individuals. They perceive themselves as healthy individuals. So the patient has not perceived the need. So we can't pull off for a lifelong like weight loss injection. So that is the main part. The patient should perceive the need. Then comes the problem with fear of injection that is compounded by side effects. And the most important thing is there is inadequate counseling, poor follow up, and this chronic nature of obesity. The thing is, we have so many patients, we won't be able to counsel for a long time. So actually, there won't be any discussion about long-term plans. There won't be any discussion about the protein intake, the strategies to preserve lean body mass. So the thing is, the early phase works. Patient will lose weight, then they will become satisfied, then they will stop it. And what will happen? Then there will be weight regain. Actually, initially, when the weight loses, the main loss will be fat. And along with that, some lean body mass also will lose. But when we regain, actually, the more fat tissue will be regained. So actually, the body composition is getting worsened. So the patient will become frustrated and patient will be having fatigability. As a result, the trust is lost. So the most important program the drug company should do is that they should invest more on patient support programs. They should bring in structural onboarding of patients. There should be dietitian support and they should address side effects. There should be regular follow-up and there should be digital reminders and there should be adherence tracking. Then only this problem can be solved, because in obesity, actually the prescription just starts the journey. The adherence is the most important part. So cost itself cannot actually uh, improve the adherence. That's my view.
Great, correct. So the next question is to Dr. Ronit sir. So now you're all experiencing this. So we all this while we had only the innovator molecule. So now once the generic molecule has come to the market, so people are coming and asking for it, ma'am, can we switch over? So what all precautions we have to take when we are switching from an innovator molecule to a generic molecules?
Thank you, doctor. So if we are switching, from the innovator molecule to a generic molecule, this is not a simple switching. As we were taking paracetamol for one single brand, and now we are switching on to a paracetamol of another brand, it is not as simple. ये जो दिखता है कि इस दवाई में भी या इस बॉक्स में भी सेम मेडिकेशन का नाम लिखा हुआ है, इस बॉक्स पे भी सेम नाम लिखा हुआ है, तो दे कंटेन द सेम कंपाउंड. So this thing is that they contain the same compound, same material है, but the efficacy, side effect profile वो सब अलग हो सकते हैं. तो switching is usually a normal process. आप switch कर सकते हैं, परंतु आप ये सारे expectations रखेंगे कि सारा का सारी चीजें वैसी की वैसी होंगी जैसे पहले हो रही थी. It is not guaranteed because they are different same molecule with a different synthetic procedure, delivery mechanism, everything has changed from that part. Protein molecule है, different है, so there can be differences what you may experience. So people who want to switch can switch from an innovator molecule to the generic molecule, but they have to be very vigilant. They have to be very vigilant about the effectivity in terms of HbA1c reduction, weight reduction, side effect profile, and they should continue to monitor it. The patient who has switched on, the doctor who has advised them to switch over to from an innovator molecule to the generic molecule, they should be documenting everything. They should be monitoring everything, that the patient is not experiencing the side effect more than the innovator molecule. The patient is not having increase in the HbA1c or increase in the weight gain again. So these things should be kept in mind, properly monitored, and if they go on well, then the patient can switch to a generic molecule. And as Dr. Kurian has already emphasized this part, that it allows a better access but will not guarantee the adherence. Because if a patient of mine who was onto the innovator molecule switches to a generic molecule and he starts gaining weight, or he is having a deteriorating HbA1c, then I will change the molecule from the generic to back to innovator for that purpose, because I want the health of my patient as the first priority rather than the cheapness of the effect or the cheapness of the product. So the adherence on this molecule cannot be guaranteed. We have to shift back to innovator molecule if we want our patients to continue with the better health. So that would be my answer, that if you are switching is easy, simple, same, but you have to be very cautious about the efficacy and the side effects of the molecule that you are now getting.
Thank you so much, sir. So, the next question is to Dr. Sujin. So, like sir told, we can switch, but we have to closely monitor. So, what all things we have to monitor? What should we be anticipating, and what are the things that we should closely monitor? In terms of efficacy, in terms of safety issues, or what all things has to be monitored?
See, the obesity is a very complex disease. We might be sitting in OPD. Sometimes we do give a generics. They might have lost a good amount of weight. But same thing, so for some patients, we'll give them an innovator molecule that might not have lost anything at all, despite giving them a slightly higher dose. But the few things which we have to, some of the parameters which we have to monitor every time when a patient visits us is a weight loss efficacy. Has a patient lost weight or not? That is the most important. Or the second thing is the glycemic control. The first one is weight loss and glycemic control, or glycemic control and weight loss. These are the two things which we should monitor. And even in the weight loss, it's a percentage of weight loss, not how much percentage the patient has weight, that he has lost the patient. That is something which we should check. And the metabolic profile, as sir and the others I have already emphasized, that the metabolic health, that is, we have to see their HbA1c, we have to see their fastings and the lipid profile. And sometimes you can even, if someone is on a longer period on GLP, we can even do their fibroscan. You can see their fibroscan. We can see whether it is recovering or not. Fibroscan, sleep apnea. The patient they themselves will come and tell you the sleep apnea is improved or not. That is something. And the long term, this all a short term. Whenever they come, this is few things which you can see. But long term, for this we have to still wait, because we have been using in India. We have been using only from past 1 year now, one and a half year. We have been using, but generics only from past 6 months now. But the long-term cardiovascular and renal functions. Renal functions, yes, you can see their albuminuria every time patient comes. You can see their albuminuria. That is again reassuring. Even if the glycemia is well controlled, weight is not very well controlled, but the albuminuria has come down. or the creatine is settled. It's a stable. It's not worsening creatine. And the cardiovascular, yeah, we need a lot of time for cardiovascular evaluation. So these are the few things. One is the weight loss efficacy. Second thing is the metabolic health. Third thing is the long-term cardiovascular and the renal outcomes. The fourth thing, which is very important, is the side effects. Every time we know that GI side effects are the most bothersome and concerning to the patients, and we have to every time the patient. Some people will have it, some people will not have it. We don't know who could end up with GI side effects, who will not have it. So only time will again tell us. That is something. The side effects, GI side effects, and as ma'am no, rightly mentioned, the lean mass, lean no, the loss of the muscle, which is again, if you make a patient sarcopenic at the end of the day, it's again the sarcopenia is again, it will increase your insulin resistance. We should always emphasize them to eat more proteins, and that is one thing. The fourth thing is the patient reported. All these things are already given in the textbooks. We all know this should be monitored every time the patient comes. The fifth thing is patient reported outcomes. What are the new things which the patient has come up? That is the quality of life. We might not have achieved the desired percentage of weight loss or glycemia, but the quality of life. Like the patient, recently a patient called and told me that the patient has been taking, but the glycemia is reduced, but not to the expected. But the patient feels much better. The dyspnea has gone, the sleep apnea has gone. He's feeling much better. So the quality of life and adherence should be again addressed every time. And so yeah, these are the 5 points. Some of them should be done, regulated. We should be monitored every time. For some of them, we need months to years to see the changes. So these are some of the outcomes which should be monitored on a regular basis.
Thank you so much, doctor. So, at this discussion, what I want to say is just making a molecule affordable and accessible is not enough. We have to educate the patient. We have to closely monitor them. We have to carefully follow them. And we need more of real world data to be having more confidence on these molecules. So let's look ahead the next round. So this is about the future directions. Where are we heading into? So how these generic molecule will change the obesity management over the coming decade. So my first question is to Dr. Bhavani Shankar. So do you really think that the generic availability will completely transfer the anti-obesity pharmacotherapy and make it a mainstream therapy? These generic molecule will become a mainstream treatment?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. I think it has the potential to become a mainstream treatment, because in India, as far as the chronic disease treatment is concerned, cost is the major burden, I think, and the availability of this molecule at a lower cost is definitely providing a better edge to this molecule. And simultaneously, there are certain other factors also which come into the play, like the confidence of the clinicians in terms of the guideline of starting this treatment, indication of starting this treatment, educating the patients properly, and addressing the side effects and properly. And second one is the public awareness regarding the unmet need of this treatment in obese people, and regarding the lifestyle management along with these drugs. And third one is the a good government policy to create awareness among the peoples. And there should be uh, a provision for reimbursement fund or anything like insurance to cover up this cost of this treatment.
Thank you, Dr. Bhavani. So, my next question is to Dr. Navya. So, we all have experienced that there was a lot of inertia so far. For some reason, it might be patient inertia, it might be doctors, clinicians' inertia to start these molecules. Because now that we have good amount of generics available, will this change our prescribing patterns? Can you feel it can change our prescription patterns?
Definitely, it has changed. It has changed in a positive way and a negative way. Positive thing is that if a patient, overweight patient comes to us, if he is pre-diabetic or diabetic, we are first amplifying these drugs. That is, there is a possibility of reversal. That aspect we are highlighting. And rather than treatment mode, we are in a preventive mode. We are like, if you reduce the weight, you can reduce the risk and so and so. So in a way, they are affecting and helping people. And most of the patients who are even discontinuing GLP-1 also are actually maintaining the lifestyle we have advised. That is a positive aspect. But there are some worrisome negative aspects also, like are we repeating the antibiotic mistake? Actually, it is accessible to everyone. Anyone can prescribe. It is actually available in beauty clinics. It is available in online platforms. Even gym trainers are prescribing it off-label. So it is actually a highly dangerous pattern. The drug is actually in a highly demanded, unstructured environment. Non-specialists are writing and online platforms are refilling it, online drug pharmacies. So obesity is chronic, GLP-1 therapy is chronic, but actually market is bending towards a short-term use. Like we can see pre-bridal weight loss packages, we can see short duration transformation packages, we can see influencer amplified quick response videos and all. So all these reflect actually a deeper mismatch between how obesity behaves biologically and how it has been placed commercially. So people actually start therapy during wedding, job change, or whenever they have a health care. So these prescription patterns should be called out, and the medical council should be regulating all these. So there are positive and negative impacts and prescription patterns.
Thank you so much. Very well said. So my next question is to Dr. Ronald sir. So all these while we have a lot of data on the innovator molecule, so we are more confident. We have long-term data regarding these innovator molecules. So my question is, how important is it to have those real-time evidence in terms of this generic molecule to give us a long-term evidence confidence on these molecules? So how important is a real-time evidence?
So a very good question. What we have is अभी तक जो है the thing is innovator molecule. What I consider is innovator molecule was a different thing and generics are a different thing for me in this specifically semaglutide or the tirzepatide domain. I would consider that the semaglutide generics are there only. So semaglutide, considering semaglutide, so they are different entities. When there was the innovator molecule and it was tried and tested in a whole of its trial, those were the RCTs, that is randomized controlled trials. So the word is controlled. Everything was taken care of, what they are eating, how they are doing, what side effects are having, everything was getting noted down. Now when these molecules have come into the public use and we doctors have used it, so we have got the real world evidence of the innovator molecules and we know what therapies or what changes work best for the patients and side effects, what other side effects we have seen. These all were the real world usage evidence, what we have got from the innovator molecule. Similarly, the generic molecules, they have given their only the pharmacosimilarity, their only bioavailability and bioequivalence studies have been done clearly, and they were also very short duration, only of 6 weeks to 3 months. They were not long enough. इतना लंबा उन्होंने स्टडी भी नहीं किया. They have just made the copy and then they have tried to show the graphs that the drug concentration is same. So coming on to the other part is the real world evidence. So जब हम इसको जनरल पब्लिक में यूज करेंगे, because they are approved as per DCGI, so जब हम इसको जनरल पब्लिक में यूज करेंगे एंड वी सी कि हमें क्या साइड इफेक्ट्स ऑब्जर्व हो रहे हैं, हमें कितनी क्लिनिकल एफिकेसी मिल रही है, हमें कितना वेट रिडक्शन मिल रहा है, हमें कितना HbA1c रिडक्शन मिल रहा है, हमें और नया क्या देखने को मिलता है साइड इफेक्ट्स के टर्म्स में या क्लिनिकल एफिकेसी के टर्म्स में, वो हमें नोट करना पड़ेगा. एंड दैट रियल वर्ल्ड एविडेंस, रियल प्रैक्टिस एविडेंस विल बी द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग to use and to prescribe these GLP molecules, these generic molecules in our day-to-day practice. So jitna zyada, because India has a Bhavani Shankar has already stressed it out, obesity is a chronic disease and we have a lot of population. So when we have this much amount of population, there is a great scope to use this molecule as an approved indication for the approved patients. जब हम यूज करेंगे तो वी विल जनरेट द डेटा एंड वी विल बी एबल टू नो कि रियल वर्ल्ड में, रियल प्रैक्टिस लाइफ में हाउ डू दे बिहेव, आर दे एक्चुअली वर्किंग लाइक दे आर इंटेंडेड टू, कि जैसा इनका सोचा गया है वैसा काम हो रहा है या नहीं हो रहा है, साइड इफेक्ट कितना होता है, एफिकेसी कितनी रहती है. सो टोटल रियल वर्ल्ड में से हमें डेटा मिले एंड दैट डेटा कैन एडवाइज अस to continue this molecule, to discontinue this molecule, what to adjust, how to adjust with the molecule. So real world evidence will be the key for these generic molecules for me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. My next question is to Dr. Sujin. So, though that we are all talking about, we have some real world evidence as of now, but still not enough. What might be the biggest challenge for us to have that confidence in these generic medications? So, what might be the biggest challenge that we might anticipate in future?
Yeah, I feel the three most important challenges, considering us also the physicians. Most important is a robust data, which we have already spoken now. We don't have a long-term studies to address these issues. Although there's a lot of branding, there is everywhere the generic should be used. They are good. We know they are good, but we need to know how good they are. So we don't have a long-term robust data comparing with the placebo or comparing even with the life, comparing with the original molecule. That is something. The data is missing. So only time will tell us. So how to get this data? How to get this data? So only as an endocrinologist, only when we use it, then only we can create a data. If there is a resistance from our side to use it, from a physicians or endocrinologist, if we don't use it, who else is going to use it? Only when we use it, we get to know whether it is generic or whether it is a original molecule. Only when we use it, we can create some data. So the first challenge is the data which we don't have. Second thing is how to get the data only when we use it. That is the important thing. We should not have resistance, and we should be little liberal in using these drugs. We have to see the contraindications and all of that, but we should be using it. As an endocrinologist, we should be the first person to initiate these molecules. The third thing is the most important challenge is telling the patient that it is safe. So the moment we tell them that we will give you some medication for your weight loss, all they have is, is it bad? Will it cause any other? Because it's all the past trauma. Because there are a lot of drugs have come, a lot of all the other medications that they have not been benefited. They have spent a lot of money. Now the moment we tell them that we are giving you something which will reduce your weight by 10%, there's a lot of again the resistance from their side. So this is one of the most biggest challenge. A person who is obese, class 2 obesity, class 3 obesity, and who is just pre-diabetic, he is the right person to start this medication so that he'll not have any full-fledged diabetes or end organ damage. So this is one of the most, I feel this is the top challenges which we face in our OPD. The second thing is, for some of them it's not required. Like example, someone who is young, 18-year-old boy and who is 90 kgs, he'll come and ask, shall I start on GLP? Like, no, you just go to gym, you increase your physical activity. Whom to start, whom not to start, and collecting a real world evidence. And these are some of the challenges which we face every day. So only time will tell us, how we'll address these issues.
Great. Thank you so much. So, thank you for all the panelists. It was a wonderful session. So, to conclude, what I want to say is we know that obesity is a chronic, relapsing, and remitting disease, and GLPs are definitely a wonder molecule to tackle this problem. But now that we have a generic molecule which can make this molecule more accessible and more affordable, so saying this, we have to make sure that the manufacturing standards are maintained. There should be good regulatory authorities to look into this, and also, once it comes to the into the real world, we have to make sure that we follow these patients very closely and look for any adverse events. And if at all, if any adverse events, it has to be notified. And closely, we have to follow these patients and make sure we give this. And unlike Dr. Sujan rightly told, unless until we use it, we will not realize it. So make sure we use it, find out that, pick up the data, and make a real world data, and to tell that these generic molecules are equally good enough like an innovator molecule. And what is lacking at present is a real world data, and definitely this real world data will give us a lot of confidence regarding this molecule. And by this session, I would like to tell that please, these molecules are really good. Because of any social media wrong influence, don't fall for it. And for a right person, right time, prescribed by a right doctor, especially the endocrinologist, will definitely change the landscape of obesity management. So thank you so much, and for Endocrine Society of India to start such an initiative to give information about this molecule on a social media to clear the doubts of many people around the country. Thank you so much.
Yeah, fine.